Welcome, everybody. I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week, an unofficial look at the world's, I don't know what it is, slowly
Oh
being
God, yeah.
dismantled. The social network is being parted out by Google. So anyway, before we get to all the stuff, Alan Furstenberg is in a nondescript hotel with fairly good Wi-Fi compared to last year at Google I/O. And I just want to tell this funny story that you're being interviewed by Mashable, and you're videotaping each other, right? This was a serious, an Asian play, right? You're photographing each other, and like a Japanese tourist would. I was born in Japan, so I can say that. I'm also their height. So anyway, he literally laughs when he says Google Glass. He's asking you like, "You're the only guy wearing it here," and you're like, "Oh, there's another guy." And then today you were signing autographs at your table for your book, Designing and Developing for Google Glass, co-authored by Jason Salas. Were you forging his name? There you go. Available at
No,
O'Reilly
I had a
Media.
lot of people who said they wanted two signatures in the book. Unfortunately, Jason and I couldn't figure out how to make that happen. But
Alas.
so it's just me. People have to come back next year when Jason actually makes it back to IO.
Well, so okay, so it was pretty neat. I was watching it, but I just finished my newspaper. Literally, like I haven't even uploaded it yet online. We sent it to the Goss Urbanite guys to print it, and so I'm clueless, even more so than usual. But you were there, so you have a clue, as opposed to me. So anyway, I was impressed. I thought it was pretty cool. The Pong contest. They had two guys playing Pong on. It appeared to be a screen. I imagine it's like literally like a football game where it looks much bigger on television than it really is, but it appeared to be like 100-foot wide set of giant screens, and these guys are playing Pong.
Well,
And
they
so
were.
tell
It
us
was
about
pretty.
the opening and just go. Let me wind you up, and you tell us what you know, whatever
The
you want to say.
keynote was pretty freaking awesome. It was 270 degrees worth of screen, so it wrapped around two walls in the front, and they were playing Pong on this. More interestingly, the opening animation was coming at you and zooming in on the wall, so that was pretty freaking awesome. Um, but that's where it just got started. It wasn't that big. That's the opening narration. That wasn't the story. That was the introduction. That was the tease, and it wasn't even a very good tease. The keynote itself was pretty awesome.
Well, before
Um,
the keynote, they did a really neat introduction video. They always have some sort of really fancy thing. I guess it kind of warms you up. Um, and Colbert and Jon Stewart used to have a stand-up comedian who would warm up the crowd, but for Guy-O, you have like planets and and video games and stuff. But it was pretty impressive. It was a really neat, very energetic music bed, and they started with some planets rotating, and it looked like the Twitter bird at one point. But that went on for over 10 minutes. A very rapid, fast-paced animation, sort of a futuristic theme. What was going through your head, and how did that compare to other years?
I'm trying to remember exactly which one you're talking about. Is that the one? Was that during the countdown?
This was prior to Sundar coming out, after the Pong game. It was sort of the intro.
Okay,
It was a
so the
10-minute.
Pong game was what they called the pre-keynote show.
Okay, and then there was like a video in between that and when Sundar came out.
Right, and the video in between that was flying in through the planets
Yeah.
and coming up on what seemed to be Earth, and that's when the countdown began, and suddenly it ground to a sudden halt at 6 seconds to start. There was a bug in the code, so we followed the adventures of the missing semicolon to fix the code, and it ground up, and that was the launch.
Awesome. So, I'm sure that would not have worked well with some teenagers, but you know. And I heard that there was a line at the ladies' room today.
I I did not see a line at the ladies' room. There were a lot of women there. They didn't say what the numbers were, but there were a lot of women, and I think it was great to see.
So it's probably still not the best place to go to like score a date, but there's a larger number of women than
Well,
before.
Dan, it might not be the best place for you to score a date.
I don't
It
know. I
also
look kind of
wouldn't be the
geeky.
best place to. I'm not sure that I would think of it in terms of scoring a date, because I respect my dates a little bit more than that.
All right. So there were lots of stuff they talked about. What got you excited? You're a glass guy. You're a wearables guy in general. You're a developer.
Well, that's it. I mean, there wasn't really a lot that was very exciting. I went to a presentation this morning from the ATAP group, and they were talking up a storm of awesome stuff. And I went to a presentation by Astro Teller from the Moonshot team, and they were talking up a bunch of awesome stuff. And in the keynote, they were talking about how we were going to see Internet of Things and home automation stuff coming, and we were going to see Android M coming, and we were going to see beautiful new integration with Google Now, and a lot of stuff like that. But it's all coming. It's not here yet.
Was the goodie bag just a cardboard thing?
No.
What was
But
in
they
the goodie
didn't
bag?
announce what it was. They didn't announce it at the presentation, which was good. They sent us email afterwards.
Oh, so you haven't gotten it yet?
Oh, I got it.
Is it a secret?
No. It is a Nexus 9 tablet.
Oh, neat. Who makes that? Is that's not Asus, right?
Plus cardboard.
Oh, cool.
Cardboard is more exciting.
He got a free Nexus 9 tablet and cardboard. Which explain what cardboard is, and now it's bigger. It will and they're gonna cater to iOS and larger phones.
Well, it's not so much cater to iOS and larger phones. It's that there's now a standard for knowing what cardboard you're using and what phone you're using in it. So this is cardboard. This is exactly what we got. We got this piece of cardboard. And,
Is that assembled, or that's the way you got it?
This is the way we got it.
Because last time it was thinner, right?
Okay, so we've unpacked it. We open it up. We flip it to the side, so we now create a viewing set.
Okay.
And now what I would do is take my phone.
Try to hold it a little higher so we can see.
Oops, sorry. Take my phone. I've now put it in here. Secure it. And I now have
An Oculus Rift that's
I now
less
have
than
for the cost of about $20 in materials. I now have something that Oculus Rift is going to be charging about $1,000 for.
$1,500. It is announced.
$1,500.
A number that
Okay,
should ring
so-
familiar to you as a glass explorer. No. Oculus
So-
Rift. He's at the kids here. Oculus Rift is a virtual reality thing that Facebook bought, right?
Yeah, I know.
That's
Yes.
what this is. Except it's a $20 version made of cardboard
Instead of the 1,000.
instead of a $1,500 version. Now I'm not saying that that the Oculus Rift's Mercedes is identical to this product, but in the software I have no idea.
Well, and that's part of it, is that the software that comes with it does a lot of the heavy lifting, and it uses your phone, which is how it's able to save a chunk of money. So if you put in a phone that's got better screen, you'll get better quality. Whereas Oculus Rift is able to control a lot of that. But,
So how do you compare them, or do you have any basis for comparison?
I've not compared them. I don't own an Oculus Rift. I haven't used an Oculus Rift, and it's not likely I'm going to. But what this shows us, what this says to us, and what Google is using with it is that a project that started on 20% time now has a major team behind it. Now is sending people into is now teaming up with major libraries and institutions of learning, is just sending a cardboard and a phone to schools, and they're going on virtual field trips with these things.
And I think it's amazing
Do
for
that on a budget.
emerging markets, right? Because this is a big thing. All the growth now, they're all looking to India and China and Africa, and this.
Well,
I mean, I'm sorry, but you're not going to go to Zimbabwe and buy all the school kids an Oculus Rift, but you certainly could make a dent in the population with this sort of thing,
Well,
and
but
take
here's
them
the
to all
thing,
kinds
Dan.
of places.
Are you going to go to is your local school district going to buy an Oculus Rift?
They're phasing in Chromebooks at this point. They can't even buy the,
Okay, so how much is a Chromebook? How much is a Chromebook?
yeah, what, $150, $200?
Yeah, about that. Okay, so if you told them, hey, Google will send you this, and your kids can go on virtual field trips, what would you do?
Well, clearly, yeah, and obviously this is a more niche application than a Chromebook would be. I mean, you could use a Chromebook in just about every class, whereas this would be like not something
Right,
you'd use daily in all of your classes.
But that's the point. Yes, this is in some ways a niche product, but in other ways, just the fact that it costs $20 and then uses stuff that you already have, your phone, means that anybody can get access to it. Anybody with a mobile phone can use a cardboard.
It's cheaper than the cheapest mobile phone because there's no plan with that, right? You just get it for $20 and you own it. So I think it's exciting because one of the things to get kids excited about coding and STEM
This isn't even
in
about
general,
coding, man.
But what I'm saying is I could see them. This is another thing that they could get excited about coding to code for, because if their classmates are using it, just like if they could write an Android or an iPhone app, they could have all their kids playing with it. I mean, all their classmates.
But here's also the beauty of it, Dan. This isn't about coding. This is about storytelling. This is about letting people express themselves in new, unique, and creative ways. So, I did a demonstration of cardboard while I was there. And what it was, and I posted about this, it was a guided trip on Mars. So it was they sat us down in these chairs that we could spin around 360 degrees on, and we put cardboard up to our foreheads, and while the instructor was talking, telling us what we were looking at the landscape of Mars as recorded by the Spirit rover. Now, the guy who was the person playing the role of the teacher was a Mars rover driver who's now working for Google.
Okay.
So he was saying things like, this rock over here, and in glass that we're looking at, we'd see arrows pointing us in a direction, and we'd turn until it stopped, and it would zoom in on a rock. He would say, this rock over here took me 2 days to steer around. And we move to the next scene. He'd say, if you look at these tracks here, we learned something very important from these tracks.
Okay, so let me be Big Bird.
So these are the kinds of things that you can do with $20 worth of cardboard, is take you to Mars.
Okay, so I would guess most of our viewers probably have an experience similar to mine. I've been to an IMAX movie once or twice in my life. There isn't one locally, so it's like if you go to a museum or a big deal, you go. I've seen Avatar. I think most of our viewers have probably seen a 3D movie or one or more. And I had a ViewMaster as a kid. So with limited experience with a ViewMaster, with a 3D movies, with IMAX, what is
cardboard? Literally, you can get a ViewMaster brand of cardboard.
Oh, that's badass.
Let me tell you something else. My son, I have a picture of my son using my ViewMaster viewer and then using cardboard right next to each other. Kids will take to this like a... So comparing it, take your ViewMaster, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now make it that instead of a single picture, it's a 360, three-dimensional picture.
So it's kind of IMAX meets ViewMaster meets 3D Avatar.
Yes.
But it's
And
$20. It's the cost of a ticket to
$20.
Avatar. And people can code for it, and wow.
And write movies for it.
The elephant in the room, of course,
Yeah.
is other applications.
It's kick-ass.
That's awesome. So, was this a this was a 20% project? Was this like a response to and let's get Kevin here. Is this a response to Oculus, or is this just coincidentally? I guess everyone's looking into because the processors have. How come this happened all of a sudden? Is it because the processors have gotten to the point where it's affordable to get this kind of processing power, and it wouldn't have been possible 5 years ago?
I need to reboot for a second, so
Okay.
go to Kevin. But I just want to say this is almost definitely, in my mind, a response to Oculus, because this was launched at I/O last year, shortly after Samsung and Oculus teamed up, and I think this was Google smacking their partner Samsung around and saying, "Look, you want to spend a few $100 on this? Fine, we're going to do it for $20."
But clearly, this wasn't something they put together in a couple weeks.
Really? What makes you think that?
I don't know. I mean, wouldn't somebody have been? Well, we're talking Google. I mean, these are not JV developers, but could they have done? I mean, from scratch, or you think somebody was?
Why not?
You think they did an email? Probably a big email, like, all right, who knows who's been tinkering with this? Come see me.
I think it
get
was
a
a
cookie.
20% project. Somebody tinkered with it, showed it to his boss, and it went up the chain like wildfire.
Awesome. So Google's still
Test.
small
Over
enough.
to you, Kevin.
What's up,
I'll be
Kevin?
right back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Testing. Can you
Yeah.
hear me? Okay. I wasn't sure. Okay, yeah, the same way that in Google Inbox showed up, and all of a sudden it just seemed like it was totally awesome. And what were they waiting on? When you see it initially, you think, okay, wow, that was great. But they've been using something like Google Inbox internally for a long period of time. My bet is that for the Google Cardboard VR stuff, they've been playing around with it for some time internally. And we're just seeing the end result of what they've been playing around with. So even if it was a 20% project, I think they've been playing around with the tools that they might want to use in terms of VR for a while internally. And I think we're just seeing the end result of that. They might build some stuff and then, okay, building off of what other people have been thinking about or working on. Here's something that we can do. It's really cheap, and $20, and you can just start running with cardboard. It's really pretty amazing that they've been taking this so far, and that they've been doubling down so much on this project. Because when I initially heard about it, I thought it was a neat parlor trick, and then I ignored it. And now it seems like they're treating it like a real thing. And not only are they treating it like a real thing, but you could use it kind of like a real thing. It's not going to be the same level as Oculus Rift simply because, some parts are going to be more expensive, but it's pretty close. And for, like 1/10 or less of the cost. So, in terms of undercutting any kind of competition in terms of price
It's like
and availability.
1.5%. It's like 1,500.
Yeah.
Way or 1 1/3, whatever it is. I'm always afraid to make any wild calculations because, I'll
No,
get beat up, but-
you're actually closer to right. It is closer to like 1% than 10%, like what I'm saying.
It's $1,500.
it's-
I heard today $1,500 was the, I guess the mainstream Oculus Rift price. I guess it was a Kickstarter or whatever, and that went pretty well. And so, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see the comparisons when. I guess there are Oculus Rifts out there now in the wild, and there are is it a fair comparison, or are they different? Obviously the hardware is
comparison
different.
between Oculus and Cardboard.
Yeah.
The biggest comparison is that you can have Cardboard and you really can't have Oculus. So there's a billion potential Google Cardboards, and there's like 5 Oculus Rifts. I don't know that anyone's going to have that to play with to compare with in the first place.
Now, let's be honest with the comparison. I mean, Oculus has done some really good stuff in speeding up the frame rate, in optimizing their hardware and their software to really do things fast and smoothly and quickly. And that's great. But you got to question whether, something, whether the difference is worth the, what is it, 100-factor difference?
Yeah, it's about
100
that.
times difference. You got to wonder.
For one,
the Samsung one still requires you to use a Samsung phone. It's not even like that you're getting all the hardware with it. So it's. I'm sorry, Michael. I'm sorry, Kevin. I keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
no, that's fine. No, I was just reinforcing what you're saying. I'm agreeing with you. Which, even if you're the classroom example that you're talking about was a really good example, and it's even better because if you wanted to introduce it to a classroom, for most of the people in the room, you wouldn't even need to introduce anything except the box, because chances are there's a fair number of kids that are in the class that'll have some kind of Android device to begin with. Obviously not everybody, but there's going to be some people. So that brings down the cost even more for like showing it to the class. Just use your phone and just put that up there in front of your face, and all of a sudden you're on Mars. I mean, that is a game. It's not just a little bit interesting. That's a game changer in terms of people thinking about VR.
I am thrilled that they gave us these new cardboards that are larger, because my son has been asking me to look at cardboard, to play with cardboard for months, and I couldn't do it because my phone didn't fit. But now I can do it again.
Yeah, it's taken me some time to think about all the different VR things you could do now that it's actually accessible to people. I've been able to not think about it for a while because I know I'm not going to get an Oculus Rift anytime soon, but I already have the components that I would need to use cardboard now. So now I actually do have to think about it and think about all the places I could go.
Says Dr. Seuss.
It's amazing. Yes. Well, you could go to a world of Dr. Seuss. Someone could make that world. You could visit Thing 1 and Thing 2.
And
Man.
Here's the thing. Some of the other announcements they made at the keynote were talking about doing exactly that. I mean, they were saying things like, look, we are going to distribute everything you need to know to make a 16-camera Circle Vision rig. So we'll give you the blueprints for doing it. We'll give you the viewer that will work with cardboard or with anything else on the other end. And we will provide, we will give you access, probably for a fee, they didn't say that part, we will give you access to the processing for it. So all you need to do is get 16 GoPros, stick it in a harness, record whatever you want, use our editing software, and distribute it on YouTube.
Yeah, that is absolutely. Imagine think about Sesame Street. Sesame Street's already been, kind of pushing stuff on YouTube, and imagine if they put, some GoPros on Big Bird and had him actually walk down Sesame Street. You could pretend to be on Sesame Street. I mean, I'm old, and I'd love to walk down Sesame Street. I would love to visit Oscar the Grouch. I mean, I'd love to see all those characters, come to life. I could be surprised by Snuffleupagus. I want to see
he's actually
that.
got, it might actually be a useful tool for, his name escapes me, I think Alan knows it, because I think he has a little TV in the character. He has a little monitor to see.
Carol Spinney?
Yeah. Can't you imagine, like, if they had some kind of monitor on the outside and he had like he could actually see, just like.
You're not getting the big picture here, Dan.
Well,
Pardon the pun.
it would be nice. It would be interesting to see from the perspective of Big Bird, but I'd rather see Big Bird. I'd rather just have be somebody and I meet Big Bird or I meet Oscar the Grouch.
Oh, I mean,
Snuffleupagus.
I agree. I'm saying it would be neat. It might be a neat tool for the puppeteers as well, in addition to what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Because I think he actually, I think they have a little monitor in the Big Bird that's how he can not bump into things.
Oh,
So.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know how that one worked. Okay. But yeah, to have, children's shows like that, and that would be mind blowing. You know, if I could have seen that as a kid, my mind would have been blown. Yeah, you know, the possibilities are huge.
What is your favorite list of
Absolutely.
stuff that I apologize. The viewers are seeing a part of my as you're talking. I'm uploading the newspaper to issue ISSUU
Oh,
because
wow.
we're running late. But what is your best go-to list of major things announced at I/O that we can get Alan to comment on?
Oh, number one, number two, and probably number three.
All right, go ahead.
All of a sudden, they're making an announcement about Google Photos where you can upload an unlimited amount of high-res photos.
High res, quote unquote.
Um,
16 megapixel.
But even then, they're
so
compressed,
everything up to
right?
What, Dan?
They're compressed.
No. 16 megapixel uncompressed.
And above that, like my NEX7 is 24 megapixels, 16 is like a point and shoot camera, a phone, I guess. I don't know.
Right. If you want more than 16, you can either upload it as unlimited, and pay for the drive storage space, or have it downgraded to 16.
Yeah, that is really huge. That's a big deal. I mean, for professional photographers, you're going to have raw images, and those will go above the 16. But for most people, the average image size is going to be somewhere between 4, 5, 6, megs.
Flickr's still the best.
Wait a minute,
deal
you said
for still.
Wait a minute, you said 16 gigs.
16
What did I say? I meant
megapixels. Megapixels.
So, okay, yeah.
Zeros between friends.
But unlimited, that covers all the photos that people are normally taking now. You're probably not going to have a regular photo that's going to go over 16. Unless you're saving it in RAW.
But really,
so
I think their unlimited video is a bigger deal.
They said unlimited video too
At 1080p.
They said 1040p video. I don't think they listed a length.
Okay.
Yeah, 1080p is unlimited.
1080.
And then I guess if you want to do 4K
Oh, wait a
or
minute.
whatever, it's a different story.
Oh, wait a minute. They said really 10. I have to. Do you mean to tell me you 1080p video as much as you want to save in there?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find the.
But they're already doing it. But still, I now I want to know. Okay, so right now, if I shoot a video on my phone and I want to share it, it's gonna upload it to my drive. And it's gonna upload it to Google Plus or whatever the hell that is, and for free, right? And then, or no, I guess I'm paying for it. And then if I want to put it on YouTube, I have to download it and then upload it again, right? To go from one part of Google to the other part of Google. And so now there's going to be 3 places, or this is replacing the previous auto backup. I think that's the case because
this is auto backup. It's not so much that it's replacing it; it's that it's what it is. It's storing in a slightly different way than it did before, but you don't care.
Well, I kind of do care. I mean, does everything have to be saved in Google Drive in the Google Photos folder? Like, is that some kind of Ollie Oxen free place?
Stop.
Okay, yeah.
Let's not think about this as saving it in Google Drive.
Okay.
You're saving it with Google Photos. Now, Google Photos may make some of that viewable in Google Drive. But don't think of it that way, because it's not relevant.
Okay, so as long as I take the video and photos in Google Photos and I save them there, then it's just it'll just back them up, period.
Yeah,
And so I don't need to think about where they're being stored.
correct. And you
Okay.
should.
Okay.
all right. So what are the other things that you were thinking you were just mind-numbingly awesome?
No, he was expecting me to have extensive comments about Google Plus Photos, and it deserves extensive commenting. There are a lot of things to talk about with photos.
No, yeah. Let's not leave this right now because I'm starting to want. Okay, my first question would be, if you've taken photos in the past, those I'm assuming don't apply to this storage as well. Like it would have to be something that was actually taken and then saved through the auto backup feature. Would that be true?
Okay, yes, it has to come up through. It has to be in Google Plus Photos.
Right. Okay.
What was Google Plus Photos? It's now Google Photos. There is an open question, and I don't think Moritz was able to answer it last time I asked him. If you uploaded, if you had something on full upload before, so you weren't telling it to scale down to the previous limit, which was about 4 megapixels, and that particular one is under 16 megapixels, are you using what? Are you going to use up storage, or are they going to find it? And he couldn't answer that question yet.
Right.
So there are some unanswered questions here.
Yeah, I'm betting people will just start experimenting with it and seeing how their storage changes or goes up and down, things like that. So we'll have more information on that. But 16 megs for a picture and as much 1080p video as you want, that really is something that would change the way I think about photos from the way I have to think about it now, which is how much storage do I have left, and change it to I can just relax. Just take the photo, Google will back it up, just like my email.
Yes. And that's actually what some of their approach is that Google Photos is essentially they're aiming for it to be the Gmail of photos.
Right.
That it's there, you can trust it, you can do stuff with it, but it's there.
Okay. Yeah. That last step of figuring out whether you have to take the picture directly on that Android device, that would be an interesting question too. That I'll have to test out. But yeah, that is the biggest thing for me, because that was the one thing that, in my opinion, Flickr had over Google Plus Photos, or what is now Google Photos, which is that they had a terabyte of storage. You could just have this, which covers a lot of what most people would need to have stored in there.
That's the one thing that Flickr had over. Are you joking?
Well, no. Okay, maybe I can't take that seriously. Okay, I do like the organization. Let me back away from what I'm saying here. I do like the actual photo management that Flickr has. It's not usable for most people in the long term. Google does have the right solution in terms of managing photos, which is that we'll manage it for you. Like, most people will not manage their photos correctly, but their management tools are better. But having a sort of a limit on the regular photos that I take, as of right now, the photos that I would take weren't really covered by Google's backup system in terms of not taking up extra space. They were a little bit bigger than Google would take advantage of, would allow you to store unlimited versions of. But now, all the photos that I'm taking now, currently, they'll get covered, and so I'm not worried about that. So now there's just, it would be good if there was better photo management tools for people who are actually going to manage it, but a lot of people won't.
So let's talk about photo management.
Okay.
Okay. Let's
Yes.
talk about the interesting thing about the new Google Photos is how you find photos later. So they give you a few options. The first is they've got a chronological record of every single photo.
Okay.
And you can spread your fingers out to zoom in on a particular date, or pinch it in and zoom higher up. Apple, I believe this is almost exactly how Apple's doing it as well.
Oh, you mean for the Okay, so finally they're doing something that makes sense. Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
well, it's not just that it's chronological, which they have. It's that it makes it very easy to zoom all the way out to a month, zoom in to look at a smaller range, and then zoom in even further to look at a specific day.
Yeah. Okay.
Move up and down fairly fluidly. And you can you can swipe up and down. That's normal. But also there's a scroll bar that you can drag down to very quickly go back 20, 30 years.
Okay. Okay, that's making me feel a lot better.
So, yeah. And the other really awesome thing, have you played with it yet?
I thought I had been playing with it, but it turns out that I was playing with not the latest thing.
Okay. The other really nifty thing is that it's fast. It is blow you out of the water fast.
So you can scroll.
You can scroll without your web browser going real slow. No, it is kick-ass fast.
Okay. Yes. Does the new one have its own? What is it, like google.com/photos? Is that how to get to the newest one?
To get to the web version, it is photos.google.com.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I have not been going to the latest.
The web version is also the two are very, very similar. The web version is kick-ass as well. Now, that was just one way to manage your photos, which, we can't really call managing your photos. You can still put photos into albums if you wanted to do that. Okay? Pretty much that hasn't changed. There is now a single place where it collects the albums, the stories, and the movies that get made in one place.
Oh my, I'm sorry. I just went to photos.google.com. You're watching on screen my mind get blown. I am pressing as click, 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 click. I am pressing page down, and I am just seeing a full screen of photos. I have dual monitors here. I'm at the speed of my clicks. I am getting photos. A full screen of photos from Google. My mind is getting blown.
No, you ready, Kevin? You ready?
Okay. Yes.
Blown?
Yes.
Click in the search box.
Oh wow. Okay.
Hey Kevin,
This
you want
is
to do a
even
screen
better
share, or is it secret?
Yeah, sure. No, let me close some other tabs. But yeah, I'll do a screen share.
So while Kevin is doing that, we'll talk about what search is the other way to organize your photos. And here's the thing, you don't do it. Google is now organizing your photos by person, by location, and by thing. So on mine, for example, I click on mine, and one of the things that it shows. Okay, so here.
Yeah. Okay. I am sharing my screen now, and I am going through photos. I just recently went to a symphony orchestra performance last night, and I took some photos of the symphony orchestra and some of the other places as well. And I'm going to just start. I'll show people the speed by just me pressing page down, and I'll tap it as like 1, 2. Oh wait, let me move over to that screen. Okay, yeah. Okay, here I am. So tap, 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 tap. As fast as I can pretty much press the keys, I am going through these photos, and there's pretty much no slowdown. Like everything is happening
While you're in a video call.
pretty much. Yes. Yeah. It's all just going by. And I just pressed Control Home to go back to the top, and it just popped up just as quickly as the first page. But let me show the other part.
No. Before you do that, Kevin.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Go to the scroll bar.
Yes.
And drag the scroll bar down.
Oh, okay. So I'm just going down. Yeah.
Dragging it.
Yeah. I'm down to I think February 2006.
And look how quickly that came up.
That was almost instant. A lot of times I'll have complaints about how long it takes the pictures to pop up. That was almost instant. I can go back to, I guess, it's calling these 1970 because they're not. That's going to be an interesting problem because some of these photos are listed as February 1970. So I think that's going to introduce some problems that people have been seeing in terms of metadata. And it would be interesting to see how we're going to be able to deal with this metadata issue, because these photos that I'm showing are not from February 1970, but I'm not sure how to edit them in a way that's going to be permanent.
And
right
something
now-
similar happened. I'll say real quick. When they started with Google Plus, there was ignore that. Sorry, I'm uploading my paper. But when Google Plus first started, people were seeing like Sergey jumping out of an airplane, stuff like that. All their old Picasa photos showed up as their photos on Google Plus. So people were like, "Oh, this is great." And it was like something from 5 years ago. So I guess, are we experiencing something similar now, Alan?
Probably. I don't know.
He has no clue.
Well, you know, side note before Alan picks up again, this does give me the ability to see which photos don't have the right date, because now it's really easy for me to jump all the way back to February 1970, and I can look at the photos right now and say, okay, I recognize this whole batch of photos, and I can just hopefully edit the metadata for them. It would be interesting. It'll be interesting if they introduce some batch editing tools.
There's going to need to be something, but we don't know what yet.
Right.
So before we go to search, we've got a bunch of comments. So Sai asked if that was a Nexus 6 turned upside down. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, although it did seem about the right size. Have we talked about the jump assembler processing time? Jump is what we were talking about in terms of the taking 16 cameras and processing it into the surround video, the surround 3D video. And I alluded to the fact that they were probably going to be charging for it, but nobody said anything like that specifically, and that's not available right now anyway. My assumption is that, yes, they're going to charge for it. People are, okay, so we've got comments about people being pissed that Google's getting rid of custom metadata. Yes, there are actually a lot of problems with metadata on photos. Also of albums. If you look at new albums, you'll notice they've gotten rid of the way to order them and to select which is the cover photo. And there's something really screwy going on about location data, although they appear to be doing at least sort of the right thing. There's a lot of issues with photos, and I will be ranting about at least some of them at some point. I tried to get an interview with the head of the photos team, and maybe, Dan, we can try to swing inviting him on Google Plus Week.
Whatever you said, sure. What I'm trying to do is okay. Here's the deal. I'll just show these guys. I've just made my cover for the newspaper, and then I'm going to upload the photo to Google Plus, and then it will shoot out to Tumblr, Facebook, and Twitter, so people who follow me can read the paper. And because my life is a living hell, and we're a day late, and I was on the phone with QuickBooks for hours, so I think Anthony's going to get the link or something. Okay, so anyway, that happened.
So I did try to get an interview, some time to meet with the head of photos, but he was obviously incredibly busy. Apparently, the guy from Wired wanted to talk to him, and I can sort of understand why the guy from Wired is more important than me. So
that's outrageous.
Let's go back to Kevin.
Yes, I am back at the home page, and I am ready to press this search option. I'm excited. Okay, I'm going to search now, and immediately at the top is highlighting people that I know, which is interesting, with a more button, and it seems to be grouping photos based off of things I have, things I know. Oh, so what? Graduation foods, cars, Sky Mountains.
By the way, let me note, for folks who are commenting on YouTube, I'm gonna look at those comments in just a moment. So those aren't being ignored.
So, okay, at the top of the search, when I first search, there's the option of looking at people, and I guess when I press more, then there would be more options for see more people. The next section is places. So places that I've been, I guess it brings up those places, and then
places that you have photographs of.
Right,
so, for
right.
example, keep going.
Right, yeah, that is correct. Places that the photos are from. And then things in general. This is something that we have kind of been able to use for a little bit, but was not really advertised, and they've really stepped it up and made it super easy to understand that you can do this, which is that you can search in Google Photos for an item, like an omelet, or a car, or a mountain, and it will look through all your photos, and it'll find pictures of an omelet, or a car, or a mountain that's in that photo. And it doesn't have to be tagged. It will just automatically look at all your photos, and it will recognize what a car looks like, and it'll just show you cars, or it'll show you food, or it'll show you a mountain. And then the next thing is final section is types. And do you understand this type section, Alan?
Not precisely, but my take on it is creations are things like what we used to refer to as AutoAwesome movies, AutoAwesome motion, the auto motion stuff. So I'm pretty sure that's creations, but this is just basically a way to filter down based on some specific types.
Right, okay, that makes sense. And so there's like a video type, so I guess it'll find all the videos that you might have saved, and then Google Drive, maybe it'll specifically say all the photos that you have specifically saved in Google Drive, and then recently added, that's a type. So I guess within maybe the last 7 days or so, it'll show you all those photos. But going up to search, I guess I can type something like omelet. I'm going to type omelet because I've taken pictures of omelets before.
This
So,
will be a
let's
test to see if he can spell omelet correctly.
This will be a good one. I'm curious to see what it comes up with.
Okay, so I am searching for omelets, and it's pulling up a whole bunch of pictures of omelets because I've taken lots of pictures of omelets for no good reason.
Try to misspell omelet. Like put O-M-L-E or something just to see if it figures that out.
Yeah, omelet. Let me try omelet.
As most people do, misspell omelet.
No joke.
Let me try omelet like this and see what happens.
Jason has popped in for his weekly appearance.
What's up, guys?
Hey, man. We have both the authors of Google Glass right now. Yes, he brought it up.
Wait, okay, well, while Kevin searches for that, Alan, may I just say, people are describing your book signing as epic. That seems to be the recurring theme. Tell me exactly how that was, and also, I have never really been a jealous person, but right now I am just fuming with envy. I am committing like at least 5 of the 7 deadly sins right now.
Dude,
You don't have an auto pen you could have sent him?
I told you to get a ticket.
You did tell me to get a ticket.
So what do we have up now, Kevin?
I chose pictures of cars, and so I have a couple of pictures of cars in my photos, and so it's showing pictures of cars.
So who's this woman on the upper right hand of the screen?
I don't. Oh, okay.
That's Judge Judy, right? No.
No, well, Marilyn Milian is the one that I have my cursor over in the March 22nd photo. February 27th, that I think was it was a funeral I went to. And I don't think I know that person, but I think there were other people in the photo that I recognize. Yeah, I think that's what.
So looking at the judge picture, this highlights one of the other interesting screw-up problems with photos. It's going to make mistakes.
Mhm.
I think we can all understand it's going to make mistakes. We're all okay with the fact that it's going to make mistakes. There is no way to tell it that it's made a mistake.
Yeah, that's a huge issue because I could just, if there was some one-click method that I could just click on a photo, or maybe just click, or a 2-button solution where I could say, not a car, or not the search term. I could click the not the search term button and then click photos that are not the search term, and I could give it an idea of what it's not, or a system to tell it what it is.
Right. Or even just say, hide this from me right now.
Right.
So yeah, there are a lot of things that they could have done, and it's really. I mean, in my case, it was a person search, and it pulled up the completely wrong person solidly in the middle, and that's an issue because if I'm looking for a few thousand, through a few thousand pictures, and 100 of them are wrong, this now becomes less useful to me.
What is also interesting is that, Alan, you and I, when we've reviewed glassware, there's a glassware application that actually scans known objects, and I think it's pretty interesting how with the neural networks, which Sundar Pichai was talking at great length about when he was presenting. He said, that's basically what drives the photo app and its accuracy, or like you were saying, the lack thereof. Kevin, can you do me a favor? Type in the People's Court, since that came up, and see if it recognizes not only that logo, but that particular, that arrangement of characters, and see if it finds something.
Okay, I just typed up People's Court, and when I press enter, let's see what happens. Which is interesting. It came up with a picture that I have saved in my Google Drive of 8 of the 9 people who were currently on the Supreme Court of the U.S. So SCOTUS. It came with a SCOTUS photo. It didn't particularly bring up the People's Court. That would have been an interesting thing to have it come up. But
And yeah, I was saying that because that one picture, it actually had the logo, the lower third graphic in there. So I'm wondering, does it also recognize that specific logo and the arrangement of characters and colors and fonts, or will it recognize like typesetting anyway?
People have done tests, and my understanding from some of the tests is that yes, it does do character recognition.
Okay.
However, it doesn't do it that well. One of the things it does do, however, is if you put it in a folder labeled People's Court, it will pick it up from the folder name that it's in.
Okay.
Try doing something now. Try doing like a texture, Kevin. If you can, like, try searching like for wood or plastic or waves or ocean water, maybe something like that, because that's also a big challenge for recognition of objects.
I'm gonna try plastic, and then I'll try water after that. Okay, if I try plastic, it says no results. I don't think I have specific pictures of plastic, but water, I should have some pictures of water. So let's see.
Dan, I'm assuming you're a big fan of the People's Court. Way back then and
Judge Wapner. And Judge Judy, by the way, is the highest paid person on television.
I just want to interrupt for a second and say that now joining us from the airport is Michael Banks.
Excellent.
What's up, Mike?
Michael was also at I.O. We ran into each other a few times. Michael, it was awesome to see you in person. Don't forget to unmute yourself before you say something.
What's up?
Hey, what's up, graduate? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. When I took water, I got one picture of water. The really, really interesting part is that you're seeing a bunch of pictures of people, and that seems to have nothing to do with water. But it actually kind of does, because I saved an article in Google Drive that has to do with the watershed department in the Atlanta area. And these were pictures that it's picking up from that article. And so it seems like it's totally random that it's picking up these photos, but that's part of why it's picking up those photos. I'm not sure why it has a picture of Tiger Woods, but I'm betting there's the word water in some sort of web page that I saved about Tiger Woods. So I'm betting that's what's going on with that. In terms of the top picture, I have some dual monitor wallpapers, and that one has water in it. And then when I scroll down, I have other pictures that actually do have water. So it is doing a decent job at picking up pictures of water, plus some other things that is not water, but also you cannot specifically identify is not water. So you can't really get feedback into this.
Okay, now we don't have to belabor this test, but Kevin, I would suggest that you do something. If you want to do it now, that's cool. But I know we're on limited time here. But one thing that I've tried to do when I test object recognition systems is try and see if it can accurately detect the difference between an actual object. Like I've done this like with this glassware application that Alan and I have tested. I've done this in a supermarket, saying try and have it detect what is an actual baked chicken and what is a picture of a baked chicken. Like say I've done that with like in our rotisserie department, and a lot of the time it actually gets it right, and that's very impressive. It can actually tell the difference between a picture of a chicken and an actual chicken.
Okay, actually, I can go back to a search that I did previously, which was for car, and you'll see what happened with that result, which is that some pictures were of actual cars, physical cars, but then when I scroll down a bit, let me move to that area and scroll down a bit, it did pick up a picture of a car. The one that's in August 25th, 2014, it did pick up a picture of a car. I'm not sure if it's supposed to mark the difference between those two. Let Here's more car stuff, and then here's a picture of a car, and more
That's
car
amazing.
stuff. But yeah, it's
Just
picking
wait.
up both. It's picking up both. Regular car and a picture of a car. That's pretty amazing. That is pretty amazing. Yeah, I could play with this all day. But the thing that really blew me away was when you first. I'm going to click back into the regular this area where it'll just pick up people automatically, places automatically, and things automatically, and types, and just puts it right in front of you because they realize that that's kind of what most people are looking for. They're looking for usually when people are thinking of pictures, they're usually thinking of the same pictures over and over again. That's how it usually goes with searches. And so, it'll pull up pictures of people that you know, and that's really. It's interesting that they put the people part first because people are automatically drawn to pictures of other people. So it's really inviting to have that as the first choice instead of just places or things. People aren't attracted to that as much as, oh, here's someone I know, here's some people. And that makes you think more about what you can do in terms of search, more than even the places or the things. That's really interesting. That's an interesting UI choice. But I like that very, very much. The other part of my mind is getting blown here. This is absolutely phenomenal. I am really.
So we'll unblow it in a few minutes, but first let me go to Michael. Michael, what? I know you've played with photos a lot since it rolled. What are your thoughts on it? And you were at the keynote.
Yeah. So yeah, I played with it. So I welcomed all the stuff that was released. So, the presentation I didn't care too much because a lot of it was cast and already rehearsed and everything. So I actually saw somebody play with it today for the first time, and they it's like this thing really does snowstorms. So they looked for a snowstorm they were into, and they they put it in there and it came up fine. So so far so good. It still doesn't address things like albums and stuff like that. Even though you got collections, which is different from Google Plus collections. So overall it was needed. So I welcome it.
Any big problems that you've seen with it so far?
Problem? Not really. I know a problem. I'm waiting. I know you're waiting you to bring up. So I'll let you take it away.
No. I've got plenty. You mentioned one to me last night that you thought was an issue.
Remind me.
The editor.
Okay. Yes. Huge problem. They rolled
Talk about the
editor. They rolled out the editor. It worked for Google Plus. I think. No. Well, on desktop, I did it on desktop today. On desktop, it reverts to the new Photos app, and it has the same tools as the phone, which is totally. So, it took out a lot of the easy stuff like filters, and it has its own filters, but you can't modify the colors. You can only modify the strength of the filter, and the filter you can't add multiple filters unless you. It's just a bunch of other stuff, and I don't like the new editor. It lost some features, and it didn't bring back the features people wanted.
Right. I think that's a huge one. Is that they went through this whole rigmarole, and they didn't bring back adding text, which is like the number one most demanded feature.
Rotation is terrible on the phone too.
What was that?
Rotation is terrible on the phone because it's hard to get it to this perfect spot. And then I noticed today, I'm not sure, I got to check again on the phone, but it had this auto rotate. Straighten it on the desktop, but I don't think that's on the phone. I got to play with it again to see, but it didn't do very well. So.
Yeah, and the comment that I've heard from a couple of people is, well, you can go use Snapseed. Well, I can use a lot of other editors. The problem is I can't do it from the Photos app. I can't, click the edit button and it'll open up Snapseed. It should be able to, but it doesn't. And this is a major fail on their part. Their previous photo editor was actually halfway decent, only halfway, but halfway.
Add more stuff, yeah.
This takes a step backwards.
Alan, can I do some comments from YouTube?
Well, I don't know, Dan. Whose show is it?
Well, that's a frequently debated topic. Okay, so you were on the Google Plus comments, correct?
Yes.
So we got a lot of comments on YouTube here. Bugsy Klein's trolling me. Bugsy Klein is my good friend, and he's one of our graphic designers, and he did a lot of the ads in the paper tonight. I just published it. It's on our websites, warrencountyva.com and frederickcounty.com. If you go to my profile, you'll see it. My Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, you'll see it. And it's free, completely free to read. Okay, so anyway, we're a day late. That's why I'm so screwed up right now. So George Cozy on our earlier topic, yeah, but why the heck is it cardboard? Plastic would cost just as much, and that you could clean. That's a good question.
Because cardboard is recyclable and biodegradable and more environmentally friendly. It's also easier to manipulate. It also means that you can take a freaking pizza box and turn it into a 360
That's
degree
right.
viewer.
Because didn't they release the plans so you could make your
Yes.
own, right?
You can make your own. Now, let's be honest.
You had to buy a couple
lots-
things.
If you want to buy a plastic version of cardboard, you can buy it. They're for sale.
Anybody can make these, right? And they're for sale now, or they're going to be?
No, plans are open. Plans were released on day one.
Now,
You can make these with styrofoam if you don't mind cutting through the styrofoam, which most people cringe at.
boy, Jim Henson
You
would
can
just go
make-
ape on this, wouldn't he?
So you can literally make cardboard out of anything. The Mattel version, the Viewmaster version, is out of plastic, and you can buy it. Sure.
Okay, when you say you can make it out of anything, what about like are there computerized guts, or it's just an app and it's a reflective thing? Like do you have to buy some things, or
It's
what?
cardboard, Dan. Listen to me.
There's no
it's
like
Literally,
plastic
it's
in
literally
there.
cardboard and 2 plastic lenses
Where do you
and
get
some Velcro to keep it together.
where do you get the plastic lenses?
They tell you where you can order plastic lenses from.
So we're talking like $2.
I think it's more like 5, but yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Okay, so other comments here. I see making out of cardboard seems a bit demonstrative. I can't pronounce this name. Perhaps they're being environmentally friendly with the cardboard. Plastic is made from petroleum products, I believe, while cardboard is made from paper, which is made from trees. Says, oh God, I'm trying hard. The last name is Olvestad. Thank you for watching, sir. Or ma'am. That was awkward. Okay, that could be argued, but plastic is recyclable these days and more durable. Sure, but it's perhaps to further emphasize the difference between the Oculus Rift, an expensive product, while making something out of cardboard shows that it's not that expensive to make. Well, perhaps, but who wants a cardboard origami on their face? George.
Well, plus also think of the marketing of it. If they called it Google Plastic, the double entendre of that name could mean they were not really on board with the whole concept and everything. So by saying cardboard, that's a little less, suspect for people that want to read into the mnemonics of it.
That's awesome, Jason. Jason is a professional news anchor. He could literally do 5 hours on cardboard versus plastic if everything went down. He could wing. What's the longest you've had to stretch?
The semiotics of materials, cardboard versus plastic. Longest I was ever on the air?
No, the
11
longest
straight
you've had to stretch. In other words, like something went wrong and you're on the air and you had to like stretch.
15 minutes.
Oh, okay. Alan would really be going crazy. Okay, so or someone just decided to use cardboard and then going back and forth. And then George Cozy on the photo collections, he says, I can't help but think of, every time I hear people talking about photo collections, I can't help but think of interminable, mind-numbingly boring shows about camping vacation photos from 20 years ago.
Or Google Plus, like this one.
Exactly. If you take panoramas, perhaps that will show up in the types section. Okay, so we've established
Dan, let me answer that one. This is actually a problem with the new Google Plus the new Google Photos. Photospheres don't appear as photospheres. So
And-
all of the nifty things we've gotten used to are gone. you see animated GIFs, movies, and images. Photospheres are now reserved for some other app.
Can I make a comment
And
about
real
Google's,
quick, let me say, because I question
Sorry.
this. Mr. Olvestad, I don't know how to pronounce the first name, but he says, "I'm a man. I'm from Norway, so I understand the difficulty of pronouncing my name." So I humbly apologize. I just didn't want to offend you if the opposite were true, or any of the shades of gray in between. But anyway, so I just wanted to get that out there. So, except in Guam, where they don't even have birds, and that's a whole different topic. So go ahead, Jason. I apologize. I interrupted you. And I will check back in the thing. Now I've got the issue posted, so now I'll be more attentive.
Yeah, I wanted to direct this question towards Mike and towards Alan, because it seems like what I've been able to see from the outside looking at about Google's enthusiasm about virtual reality with Cardboard. It's kind of interesting because a few weeks ago at Facebook's F8 conference, they really had a lot of time that they spent talking about VR and how it's going to be, but they also strongly emphasized that this technology isn't going to be ready on a wide scale for maybe another 10, 15, 20 years. Google was actually really emphasizing the point that you can do this kind of thing now. However, they're starting to shift some of the actual use cases and applications to immersive movies and 360-degree video, and not necessarily like, okay, can we experience the web in virtual reality? Can we use Google Docs? Can we create spreadsheets in VR and everything like that? So I thought that was noteworthy, especially because they scrapped their own YouTube app a few months ago in Cardboard, and now they replaced it with like your own video viewer for what you've got on your device. So what are your thoughts on the direction they're taking with VR?
Well, I mean, I think they are practically saying that a spreadsheet in virtual reality is dumb as dirt. Only Microsoft seems to be stupid enough to try to do something like that. Michael is laughing. I think Google is rightfully saying they do have this emphasis on VR still. They are talking about games. There were several sessions about that. But I think they are taking it from the point of view of, we've got a bunch of different technologies that are independently being developed, and they're going to merge and converge in the center. Whereas somebody like Oculus and Facebook are saying it's just one thing. It's all one thing.
To retrofit
Google,
existing ideas into VR.
Right. So the Google perspective is, we're going to take Cardboard, and that's heading in this direction, and we're going to take Tango, and that's heading in this direction, and we're going to be taking all of these different components, and they're all going to converge in the middle.
Yeah, our friend Kati Kasmai, Alan, was saying, because she did a lot of Periscope videos, which were very, very useful and helpful from the floor. And she was actually saying that one of the benefits of Tango is if you've got a Tango device, and not only will it see what direction you're pointing at, and the parameters of exactly what you're looking at. If you should happen to kneel down when you've got that, Tango also understands not only the X and Y axes but also the Z axis, so it understands depth. And that's been the one thing in computing we really haven't had for many, many years. That opens up a completely new way of being able to allow people to interface with information, apps, data, whatever.
Yeah, I think both of y'all are spot on. I think what they're doing with Cardboard and VR is that they're using that as this cheap device where they can get everyone hands-on or everyone to actually play with it. But I think they're doing VR as more of a platform, that way they can tie into those separate areas into just one big concentration. So I mean, I think the Cardboard is just a easy, cheap way that they can get more people involved in it to actually develop things for the platform that way. Because I mean, once you get people to develop it, you can make it more popular.
That's a good point. Very good. Yeah, I just thought it was kind of noteworthy based on what the information they were pumping out and the message they were trying to get across, but more particularly the timetable that they're really trying to tell developers about how to work with VR, as opposed to Microsoft or Facebook or these other companies that are pushing the technology, or Mozilla, which is doing a lot of work in VR for the browser.
Well, remember, Microsoft is saying, end of year.
Yep.
Google is saying we've got all of these different parts and they're all going to converge eventually. And Oculus is saying, huh?
Sorry for that I joined in late, but have you guys talked about some of the ups and downs of the keynote? Because I have some interesting observations I'd like to share on that.
What was your favorite part of the keynote, Jason?
Okay, my favorite part of the keynote, as far as presentation, okay, first of all, just right off the bat, as someone who has watched these keynotes, always watched the stream, never having it actually been part of the audience, it seemed like the audience this year was absolutely, I'm not saying not into it, but it seemed like they were always waiting for this moment to come that never arrived. They were just holding their applause back, and I think there were two parts that actually got some, like, a really resounding ovation, and that was the Tap On Now, the phenomenal demonstration of the Google Now feature, and it was the VR part with cardboard and everything like that. But the crowd was really staccato, really monotonous for the whole time, and it was really surprising. I mean, and I get it. This is Sundar's I/O keynote. This is his show. It's not the Vic Gandoltra show anymore. And they're two completely different people with different approaches, and you shouldn't think that it's going to continue to be that way.
But here's also the thing, Jason. You didn't have the jump out of the balloon moment. You didn't have the stand in front of the spinning Earth moment. I mean, what I thought was actually pretty funny was in the opening sequence when we're coming in and zooming in on Earth and it just spins there for a second. I'm like, wait a minute, I've been here before. That's right. That's how I/O 2013 ended. And then it zoomed in even further. I'm like, wait a minute, we're now going to jump out of a balloon, right? That's how 2012 ended. So I'm like, are we just going back in time? But there were none of those moments.
I thought the missing element, and like I said, it seemed like everybody was waiting for this one big seminal, pivotal moment, was the lack of swag. And I think that's what made I/O stand out from all the other tech conferences in years past. And this year, to be fair, I know a lot of engineers and people that have been to tech conferences many, many times. They're like, this actually moved into what tech conferences have been and probably should be. It's a very focused, very narrow, very applied, very terse look at what we do. People were just waiting for the next phone, or they were waiting to come away with like 9 different devices and everything, and that moment never happened. I think people were really waiting to just erupt.
But here's the interesting thing. I think part of the reason why that didn't happen, there were two things. One, a lot of people I talked to afterwards said they were glad that the hardware bonus this year wasn't announced, because there was always this perception of, we went to I/O to get the hardware and you didn't. It takes some of that away. And that was, everyone said that was a good thing. I think the other thing is, yes, a lot of people were waiting for that moment, but we were waiting for the moment in a slightly different way. So when they talked about Project Brillo, for example, which was their Internet of Things stuff, I think everyone was watching this going, yes, we're going to get a Brillo starter kit. We're going to get some things and we're going to start playing with the Internet of Things and we're going to do some awesome stuff. And, a year from now, they're going to talk about how there are 1,500 Brillo apps, right? And then they said, and Brillo will be available in the third quarter. And all of us are like, why are you telling this to us? And it wasn't, why aren't we getting that hardware? It was, why are you telling us this now when you have nothing to show?
Yeah,
we as developers have nothing to do with it now. And that was kind of the letdown. And we saw that moment over and over again.
Yeah.
We're going to release Android M eventually. And it's going to fix things, sort of. I can't speak for Michael, and I'm curious on his take, but I think there was this sense of being let down because there was a lot of excitement and build-up, and then it just kind of ended.
That's the biggest one that I saw was the one where they were talking about Google Play and the developers, and it was like, you can test your app now in 1,500 different device form factors and devices and OEMs in there, and it's like, and you'll be able to do it soon. And then you could have heard the response everybody gave. It's like this It was like, So I mean, no telling when that'll ever happen.
Yeah, Alan really hit upon a point which I don't think can be underestimated, which is the idea of moments. There were some really big announcements, but there was a distinct lack, at least the way I felt, of linking those big announcements with big moments to attach to them. I mean, it's hard to match jumping out of a plane or jumping out of a balloon, and going straight to a conference. But that was a really spectacular moment that got developed around a cool announcement. And I think there could have been much cooler ways of announcing some of the big things, like with Google Photos and with Now on Tap. And make a scenario in which Now on Tap could really blow people's mind. Make a scenario in which photos.
I think they tried to do that in all of those cases.
Yeah, and they failed.
And that's it, is that they didn't capture our imagination. So when demonstrating, here's the thing though, Kevin, when they were demonstrating photos, when you were just playing with photos, you had that blown away moment.
Oh yeah.
And we did, to some degree, at least some people did. I didn't, but some people did have that blown away moment. When he said things like, this is my daughter now. And if I scroll back, this was her when she was a baby. And I know, and Google figured that out. I didn't tell it, Google figured that out. It was those.
Yeah.
More of those kinds of moments. When we were talking about the classroom thing, I think it's called Explorer, if I remember correctly. Okay, they went
Expedition.
They went 270 degrees on some of those shots, and they were gorgeous, and they were beautiful, and we were drawn into it. But I think photos and cardboard were the only two things that really did that. The real summary of this is at the end, at the very end. Sundar is out there, and he's literally saying, and we're looking to the future. We've got our driverless cars. We've got Project Loon. Have a great conference.
Okay, here's the thing. He did not say that. He said, we'll see you next year, which I thought was a little bit awkward, and he probably improvised that part and everything, but I was like, okay, well, you've got 2 more days of this conference to go. So was that a subtle hint at something, or was that just an ad-lib gaffe? He goes, okay, everybody, we'll see you next year. And I was like, okay.
And I got to tell you, the other interesting thing that I ran into, I went to the Project ATAPS conference session this morning, which was an hour and 15 minutes. And they were doing some awesome stuff there. They literally were showing how, how doing this, finger against thumb, would be able to control a computer.
What's that project with the fabric? That's insane.
They were literally showing how just moving your arm, the fabric would be the controller. Okay? They literally were showing 360-degree movies produced by top directors. And then she goes, and we have one more thing. And everyone's sitting on the edge of their seats. And the Project Arrow guy comes out, and he snaps some stuff in, and he takes a photo, and he leaves. And you're like, that's it? So once again, we had this, huge buildup, and then we're done.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking considering how good a set of products they had to actually show right then. They could show some awesome things right then. I mean, going back to the Google Photos idea, photos aren't just photos. Photos are memories. Photos are moments that people remember in their lives. It was one thing for him to say that this is what you can do with photos, but it would have been 10,000 times more interesting if he got someone who didn't know anything about the project, but who had an interesting history, get all those photos, put those into Google Photos, and then but don't put it in right then, and then just like show those photos to that person and show how they could talk about experiences they had going through those photos.
I disagree with you for a couple of reasons. The way he presented it was awesome. He was the best presenter on stage, in my opinion. Mike, what do you think, Michael? Who was the best presenter?
I can say that he was about the best presenter. Yeah, I still miss Vic, but yeah, he was the best presenter.
Jason, your thought?
I thought by far. I mean, the presenters were very, very capable. Some more than others, but I thought in terms of delivery and in terms of conviction, by far the best presenter was, and I forgot her name, the Google Now leader. She was phenomenal from beginning to end. She sold everything. Yeah.
Really?
I disagree.
She explained, in my opinion, she explained the concepts. She showed real practical use cases, and then she got into the technology. And I just thought that was the part I was captivated. And it wasn't so much because I was enamored with the actual product. I just thought that she drove that part of the presentation.
And I'll say that product, that service excites me more than anything else right now as far as new stuff coming down the pike. I think Google Now is amazing. They've got amazing search they've had for years, and as far as the product that is the most actually useful, not necessarily fun or sexy, but the most useful to me is what they've been able to do with Google Now. And I read an article today that speculates about how this is how they're going to fight back, because everything's going mobile, which was not been historically the domain, because they're based on ads, and ads don't work well on mobile, and that they're trying to get people back on desktop or back on the web, the mobile web, which they do better at financially. And so Google Now is going to be their tie-in for that. And I think you saw a similar dynamic with the photos, where they're using their back end and amazing search capability and the knowledge that they have about you to make a very useful photo feature. I don't think it has all the whistles and bells that Flickr does yet, but it's got some, based on what I've seen, from Kevin and Alan's intro. I think it's amazing. But I think Google Now is, to me, the most. That's the thing I really want them to focus on, the most.
And on that point, Dan, as a journalist, okay, I think this is the Google Now and the features that it's going to bring, and the fact that like Tap or Now on Tap. That's exactly the type of application that Marissa Mayer was hinting at when she spoke 5 years ago, when she was still at Google, when she was running search quality, in terms of, we're going to deliver you information before you even ask for it, that you don't even think about doing.
Okay, Jason, on that note specifically, because
media is going to kill the product. They're absolutely going to fillet it, and they're going to say this is invasion of privacy, and this is spy and all that stuff and everything like that. I'm not saying I'm on that crowd, but I'm just saying.
And it was with Microsoft leading the way. And I will get back to YouTube comments in just a moment. But do you have on your Android devices, because some people have it working and some don't, but on the actual Google app, do you have the Stories feature, the Google Now card that is Stories, where it pulls up all sorts of things? It's kind of like Flipboard. It's not just showing subject cards on things like if you've Googled Tesla or glass or how to make a great pizza or whatever, but actual stories, where it's kind of like a Flipboard built into the Google app.
You mean news stories?
Yeah, it's not on iOS. It is on, because I've seen it. I test both, and it is the best curator of news specifically for me that it exists. I have everything. Twitter, Flipboard, everything. And so let me switch over to. I'm getting audio. Go ahead. You're holding it up. Keep holding it up there, Jason. Yeah, right there. Stories to read. That's within the Google app. And so what this does is it totally stalks you, and everything you've Gmailed or browsed on Chrome or any of the Google products, right? It knows, and it's not just news stories. Although if you looked at mine or you looked at Jason's, you'd see mainly news stories, because that's that's our profession. But like my mom's into quilting, if she would have stories about quilting. What do you got there? See how? Okay, sports. There you go. Sports. So do you agree with me that is? And I'm sure you, like me, have used Flipboard and you use Twitter probably all the time and everything out there. that is the best. It's almost like a team of people have personally delivered your daily briefing like the president gets about everything you need to know. It's amazing, and I wish they would keep focusing on that. It almost seems like a throwaway product that's amazing, and I hope they don't get rid of it, and I hope they expand it.
Well, this is the catch-22 of personalization algorithms, because it's not only Google, it's the companies that are using machine learning. It's Google, it's Netflix, it's Facebook, things like that. They invest in all these technologies that will hopefully be able to mine data that you keep pumping into it to say, okay, based on the 900 stories that we've seen that you've browsed in the last week, we can infer some sort of pattern to that. Like, Jason, you probably like sports. Specifically, you like college football. Here are some stories that you will probably gravitate towards. And in that sense, it's very, very good, because it lets me do less work to get at the content that I will enjoy. And again, this is the kind of thing that mainstream media typically goes after, and they're like, what else do they know about us? Can they see what I do when I don't want them doing it? And with that Google Now feature, Kevin, I'm interested in your thoughts on this, because you seem very vested in the Google Now product. But how do you think people are going to react to the fact that you can be reading an email and that cards will pop up on the bottom based on the contents of that email? It's going to know a lot of context about you before you even issue it an action to give you the information.
Yeah, a lot of it's going to be surprise, and sometimes not so pleasant surprise, because it's going to be hitting a lot of people who haven't really, I don't think, experienced it that much. And they'll see it, and they're not really keeping up on what the latest things that Google's doing in terms of Google Now. So I'm really worried that people are going to all of a sudden start seeing features that they didn't realize either they activated or realized that Google was collecting already. And the
Aren't we
first
beyond
reaction
that, though?
might be just creepy.
Kevin, aren't we beyond that, though? I mean, I read the article where the famous article about a daughter who was buying stuff at Target, and it resulted in the father finding out she was pregnant based on mail solicitations he was getting from Target before his daughter told him. But aren't we beyond that to where we kind of know when you go and someone says register your product, and they ask you all these weird questions, and all of a sudden you start getting mailings from other people.
Let's get right to the point here. Are we actually saying that people are going to start buying into this Google campaign suddenly when they haven't been? Because that's what you just said.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said. And I think anybody, and the Scroogle campaign, I don't think worked. I don't know anybody who's like, man, I'm really, freaked out about Google spying on me, like Edward Snowden shit. I mean, I don't see any of that. I see people knowing, like, well, that's the price you pay. I see the media hyping it up.
I see people like that.
I do see. I think it's between the two. I do still see people who are surprised by the information that Google has on them. I don't think it rises to the level of them feeling that they're getting scroogled. But I do constantly see people who are surprised that they're getting information from Google, and sometimes they don't react that positively to it, but they come around to it. I'm just saying it will be a surprise.
By the way, the Scroogle.com, and then back to Kevin, or back to Jason, the Scroogle.com domain.
They're trying to say something.
The Scroogle.com domain now reverts to, I forget, somewhere on Microsoft. They really, as Alan pointed out, they really totally gotten rid of that. The new CEO has. Was Anthony going to talk? Oh my God.
Yeah. So I mean, privacy concerns with Google certainly concern me. I mean, the amount of information that Google has is astounding in terrifying ways and astounding in great and useful ways. Just because it is something that definitely is in the forefront of something that I think about, it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop using it, because all of this information that they collect on you is very useful, and they present it to the user as a very useful thing. But how much do you trust them? And I guess my answer to that question would be just slightly more than I distrust them, but just slightly more than I distrust them.
I think it comes down to the same. Well,
I trust Google the company. I definitely trust Google the company. I think that the leadership and the way that they handle the information that they do have is in a mostly trustworthy kind of way. But the information that they have, I mean, it's terrifying, the information they have.
I think sometimes what people are worried about a little bit, and rightly or wrongly, it's what their perception is that they're worried that Google's going to collect all this information and then the federal government's going to come around and just look and say, okay, thank you, and I'll just take all of this, and I'm just going to hold on to it for forever. And I may sue you now, I may imprison you later. And they're not thinking about that in an intelligent way or a structured way, but they're phrasing it in their minds, and the way it's coming out of their mouths is saying, that's kind of creepy. And I think that's the general worry behind it, that it's going, obviously it's not going to just, a government agency is not just going to come along and just take it wholesale and I'll just take all of it. That's not really what's going to happen, but I think people are worried that information is going to filter out to places that they don't understand. And, whether that's to other ad agencies or whether it's to other friends or whether it's to some government agencies, they're not really clear on how this information is going to get shared.
So, Kevin, you don't think that the NSA or some other government agency, whether it be the United States or another government, because, like the British are no better than the United States, they're just not as good, in my opinion. You don't think that the NSA would be more than happy to just take that information about people that are of no concern to them at the very moment? I mean, the government's been doing this long before Google was around to give the information to them. They've been, accused of, looking through emails and stuff long before Google was a company to, hand that information over.
Well, definitely government agencies will collect information. I think the way people think of it happening is that it's getting grabbed from Google directly inside, when in fact a lot of it might get grabbed from outside of Google's control or knowledge. But it's not really clear to people, even after all the reporting. I don't think it's clear to people how government agencies are collecting their information and how they're storing it and things like that. I don't think they're clear on it, but I do think it coalesces in people's minds as thinking as it's creepy. That's all. But in terms of the information I'm getting from Google itself, I'm completely happy with it. It's really nice.
All right, can I ask Alan's opinion on a diversionary topic?
Well, for starters, do we have comments that you want to get to? I need to leave in not too long, so.
All right, I do want to get your opinion on something, and we can keep talking about IO. But
okay, get my opinion on something.
All right, so Twit, Leo Laporte announced that apparently there's a troll, and I'm not in. Maybe one of you guys know more, but apparently there's a troll, and he said it may be like one person, and that they have gotten threatening stuff with their kids, and initially he said he was going to end the live commenting, and that if some of the hardcore users wanted to continue the live commenting, they could create their own room, an unofficial thing, and that they were going to end live streaming, and that some of the hosts don't like the live stream because of the trolling, and that they were going to become largely merely like on-demand produced network, or that they would maybe like live stream pre-produced programs. And I'm very curious what Jason would think about this as a traditional broadcaster, which is linear, so it's not like Leo, but Leo was the pioneer at this.
Jason dropped out because his power died.
Okay. So, but what do you think? Leo, this is a big deal. Leo was the guy who taught a lot of us, he always was very open with his wikis about what equipment they were using and everything. He started out as a one-man band kind of, and then grew from there. This was very big news, but sad news, and I guess it's changed. Like they said, like it's up to on a host. Like Leo says, his radio show and his shows will be live streamed, but others, based on what the host wants, won't be live streamed, and they'll just be released after when they're produced. And that they may come up with some sort of new moderated or invite only, or like you can apply to be a part of their comment stream. What do you think about this? What do you do when, I mean, you literally, he formulated like it was a single bad actor, a John Hinckley Jr., if you will, who destroyed it for everyone else. A single person. Does someone have that kind of power? What are your thoughts on this? How do you balance access, which is the one thing that YouTube and these formats, you know, we're sitting here like anybody, these guys could, you know, communicate with us directly. But when you get in the big leagues, you can't, because Anderson Cooper and Bill O'Reilly and, you know, the 60 Minutes team can't correspond with everybody. But we've seen some sort of merging of that, like on Twitter, where you can get to people who are really big, and they will interact with you on Twitter, more so than on any other platform. So, I don't know. Any thoughts about this? I was really saddened by this, and shocked at the power of potentially one troll to cause not the destruction, but the dismantling or rearranging of the original live streaming, open, fully transparent network. What do you think, Alan?
Well, I think if he's taking this choice based on a troll, then there are certainly a lot of other things that he could have done. I think he chose this because it's a path of least resistance. You know, the internet's been dealing with trolls for decades. We know how to deal with them. You choose not to do that, well, that's your choice. But you don't feed a troll. I mean, we've known this for a very long time. You don't feed a troll, you ignore them, you block them out. This is what YouTube has done. Trolls can comment to their heart's delight. They're the only ones that see it.
Anybody else want to? I know, Anthony, I don't know if now you are, but historically you've been a big Twit viewer or listener or whatever. Were you aware of this, or I don't know if you're currently? I haven't talked about Twit.
I haven't been a big Twit viewer in a long time. Just recently, I just randomly, like last night or whatever, watched one of the broadcasts, one of the live streams or whatever, and he said something in passing about it, and I didn't know what he was talking about until you said, you know, just brought it up. But these people, especially Neil, you know, they know what media, you know, potentially brings to them. I mean, we know what, you know, just this show potentially brings to us. You know, people can, you know, say rude things or, you know, whatever they want to do to cause trouble on this show. So it just is exponentially, you know, for someone like Leo. So I don't know, like, how do you not see this coming and, you know, have processes in place to deal with it? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really affect things in the grand scheme for, you know, for Leo, because whether the show is recorded, you know, 6 hours ago and is put on at 12 o'clock, or it's recorded live at 12 o'clock, that doesn't really have much of an impact on the show itself. Sure,
Okay,
you know, the people in the chat, you know, like the people in the chat room can still talk. The only difference is there's just slightly less interaction.
So I've gotten a bunch of messages indicating to me a little bit more of the details, including the fact that there was a bomb threat at Twit in the last few weeks.
I think several bomb threats, calling of advertisers, calling of all the advertisers, calling of the employers of the panelists.
So here's the thing. So here's the thing. From what you've just said, his actions will do absolutely nothing to change that.
And but just to say, but he thinks it's one guy. I can't imagine that the FBI couldn't. You know what I mean? At some point,
you just taken do nothing to change that.
Alan's making a really good point there. I mean, just removing the idea of having live comments, that's not going to change the actions of anybody. I'm kind of surprised. To me, this decision sounds like he is using this situation as an excuse to deal with something that he already wanted to do. Because we already know how to deal with internet comments, and he should know better than most how to deal with, hate coming to him through the venue of the internet. So,
I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing a bomb threat, because I'm not. And I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing threats against somebody's family, because I'm not. These are real and they're serious. And you're right, but these go beyond a troll. These go to the point of somebody who is trying to harass you, who is trying to disrupt your life, who's trying to do more than disrupt your life. These border on criminal actions.
Right.
Well, they don't border on criminal action. If
They are.
making
It's a crime.
contacts. That's
Right.
Just the threat is a felony.
Right, it's a crime. It's what's going on. But we also know how to deal with crime. So, track down the person who's doing the crime. You don't have to do that. But taking away the comments is not going to stop crimes from happening.
Kevin, see previous discussion about privacy and access to your records, and that we had like 15 minutes ago.
Well, okay.
I mean, these are social. These are serious issues. But we've got at least potential solutions to some of them. I think it's easy. You know what? I'll be honest. It is easy for me to say that he shouldn't have run away from the problem, which he did. I can understand that, though. But the threat wasn't made against me, so it's easy for me to say that. On the other hand, we need to help people understand that being a troll and being worse than a troll has real implications. And I think Leo, in running away, I'm making it sound wrong. And I don't mean to be giving that connotation. I'm sorry.
I'm not buying this. I think he wanted to just turn him off, and he'd been thinking about it, and I think this pushed him over the edge. That's it in a nutshell.
You know what? I think your phrase "pushed him over the edge" is accurate, because I really can see somebody being just so fed up and it becoming that kind of an emotional issue for them.
I think that's all it is, because he didn't want to deal with that part anymore. So okay, I mean, it's his show. So
and I'll tell you real quick that I've been a victim of something similar, where someone objected to our coverage, and I think they were completely insane loons, and I've said as much. And they have personally attacked me by name and my writers. They in like local government meetings, on television, in front of like the DC TV stations, right? They have sent letters. Some of our advertisers got 15 different letters. 15. One advertiser, 15 letters. All of our advertisers got letters. And we're the #1 newspaper in the county. So we actually gained from it, because other advertisers, we were transparent. We said, here's the deal. And we actually got people who demanded to advertise because of this. And they said they're going to stand up for the First Amendment, and they chose to actually buy advertising in our publication, and they hadn't before, purely because they wanted to support our paper. So we actually benefited from it financially, but it was a nightmare and a traumatic episode for me. And so Leo is not, I mean, I think he's transparent about it. He makes $400,000 a year, last I heard, from his radio show. And then he makes whatever he makes on Twit. I think he lives off of the radio and Twit's, like he puts some money back in. But he also has a team of people that are working there, and he has to worry about them. And I'm the same way. If I suddenly drop dead or the business just closed, there'd be like 30 people impacted, my newspapers. So it's a big deal. And it's not so much, I mean, Leo's a big guy, and he'll be fine, and he'll work through this. And it may have been more of a reaction than a smart reaction, to be determined. But when someone's shooting at you, as we've seen from all these cop videos, when you're having to make a quick decision under stress, sometimes you make a good decision, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes it's somewhere in between, and sometimes you learn and you modify things. But no one's been injured, at least physically, that we know of yet. But yeah, 3 bomb threats and people calling your advertisers and stuff. All my sympathies out there, and I haven't asked Mike Elgin, who's been on our show, I don't know how many times, a couple times, and he works there now. And I wouldn't want his, I've seen his wife and kids on Facebook and stuff. I haven't met them personally, but I wouldn't want them to get like nasty phone calls from some crazy person because he's trying to deliver the news to people. I mean, what price is to be paid? And there's not a whole lot of money to be made in this business. I make nothing. I lose money. All of us lose time. All of it, I lose money. We do this because we want the interaction. If we all of a sudden cut off all the live comments for this show, what the hell would be the point of doing it?
I don't know, because we never read the live comments anyway.
Hey, Alan, can you tell us something about behind the scenes? Like, how did the book signing go?
So the book signing was it was interesting. We got a message a few weeks ago saying, hey, we'd like to feature the books that Google developer experts have written. So we contacted our publisher and we arranged to have a bunch of books sent out to the conference, and they were scattered around the conference. There were bookshelves all over, and our books were on some of them. And then we said, at the end, it would be neat if we signed some and gave them away. So we organized that. We had a mob show up and mind you, I say a mob, and it was a mob. This despite the fact that some of the most popular presentations of the entire I.O. were taking place at the same time. We got a mob of people that were interested. We signed a bunch of books, chatted with a few people. I was thrilled to see that there were people that wanted a Google Glass book still. And that's actually been a lot of my take on a lot of what I did, is that, we can look forward to ATAP and to Aura and to Cardboard and to all of these future things. And yet people are still excited about things that they've seen for a couple of years now, if not longer. Using a Hangout is still exciting. Having Glass is still exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting, man. That's really cool.
So, I.O. is fun. There's always... Michael, this was your first I.O. What did you think of it?
So it was pretty good. They had some logistical things amazing, as far as registration, picking up, certain things, but downside for me was the breakout session. They were like too many people, and it was in settings that did not accommodate a lot of people, some of them. And I spent this hours making this schedule with all the sessions and everything I wanted to go to. But most of them I couldn't go to because of crowds or because it was too close to something else. So that was my only letdown or include. But everything else about me, I loved it.
One of the great things about Google, about I.O., is just being able to go there and talk to people. I think half the people I asked today what their favorite moment was boiled down to, yeah, I've been working on this project and I went up to the booth that's in charge of it and I asked them a question and they, and I sat there for an hour talking to them about it. That's those kinds of moments at I.O. that I just love. I spent 2 hours yesterday sitting at the Google Developer Expert office hours, and we had people coming over to us asking us questions about how they could use Hangouts for their product. And, that was great. Gerwin was sitting next to me. We had a guy come over and he goes, yeah, I want to be able to take some text and put it into the video display. And Gerwin and I looked at each other and we're like, we've been doing that for 2 years and this show is why we're doing it, why we did it. So I was able to answer that. It's those kinds of moments that are just really awesome. It's being able to get in front of a microphone, which I did this morning, and ask Astro Teller, the guy who green-lighted the thing that I was wearing on my face at that moment, ask him, what was it like when, having the reality, because his presentation was about failing fast and about trying things and figuring out how they can go wrong. And asking him, what was it like when glass, hit reality? And him answering, yeah, we did some things right, we did some things wrong. We're thrilled with how it ended up. It's now handing over to consumers. And then for him thanking me for being part of the program. You see that with a lot of Googlers, is they are working on this stuff, and they come, we are their contact to see how their stuff actually gets used. And it's thrilling and exciting.
So the best part was the interaction between different people. That's cool. And congratulations as well, Alan, for that book signing. That's awesome, because I know how much work you put into putting that book together with Jason. So congratulations on that. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a great moment. When they said, "Hey, do we have books to show?" And when we got this pile, there's a picture of me that I posted of me holding this pile of books from O'Reilly, my publisher. With both myself and the other GDE author who publishes with O'Reilly. We had this huge stack of books. It was thrilling. It was great. And people wanted the books.
Cool. That's amazing. When you can finally see that all come together.
So I want to take just a moment to show two other things that were cool about Chrome.io. You've all seen the Bug Droids images. One of the things you can do, there's a program called Androidify. You may have seen it, played with it. They were letting you submit your Androidify. Michael's got his up as well. And turn them into stickers. So I now have stickers of me as a droid. Unfortunately, he's got the wrong color glass. So it bothers me. But other than that, it was cool. And they were also handing out these figurines. If you've been following the Android figurines, they tend to have special edition ones. This is the Google Play for Family special edition one. And it has both the parent and the child Android. So that was pretty cool. I have serious issues with, Google Play for Families, but that's another story for another time. Any other cool swag that you saw, Michael?
Not really. I love my water bottle.
You lost your water bottle? Yeah, they gave us water bottles.
No, I love it. I love it.
You love it? Yeah, it's a great water bottle.
Cool.
Okay, so I need to head off to an after party.
All right. Thank you so much for telling us all about Google I/O.
Because speaking of swag, we know that whenever there's a big after party, Alan is invited.
It was
so he can drive all the other people home.
It was pointed out to me that I made this comment about how I'm really not a very social person.
Really?
It was pointed out to me that I'm a Google developer expert for social.
Well,
there's something.
Boy, if I could make a joke, or if I could make, I can't because it was in a private conversation with a top Googler. But, yeah,
So-
running a social enterprise is not necessarily indicative of. I mean, technically, Larry and Sergey own a social network, right? And I don't see them at the after party. Just throwing that out there.
How do you know? I've seen Sergey at the parties.
Was he surrounded by hotties? Is Sergey hanging around the ladies' room at I/O? Hoping to,
I am not going to comment on that. Given the news from, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years ago?
Yeah. The shakeup at what was it, Android or what was it?
It was Android.
Yeah.
It was Android and Google X.
Yeah.
Apparently, Hugo was at I/O.
Really?
Yeah, there are pictures of him in front of some of the displays.
Huh.
I was pretty shocked to see that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Thank you, Alan.
Enjoy the after
this week, everyone.
enjoy the after party.
If folks want to check out Alan's book, it's at Alan and Jason's book, Designing and Developing for Google Glass by O'Reilly. Oh, there he is. Show it up, Alan. Make some noise so I can see you.
It is Designing and Developing for Google Glass, published by O'Reilly.
You can find it at Barnes & Noble. And,
Or Amazon or shop.o'reilly.com.
It's at all the bookstores in your neighborhood. So there. And also he'll be signing more copies. Did they all buy? I guess they bought a copy. How did they buy the copy? Was it for sale there? Or they brought their copy from home? What were they signing? Oh, he left.
Well, yeah, we lost Alan, but he said he got a bunch of books from the publisher. I'm not sure if people brought their books as well. I'm assuming that there's probably a couple who brought their books as well. But they had some books on site, and he said Alan said also he took some pictures with the books as well. So yeah, there were some books that were there that people could just buy physically and just have him sign right there. So that was cool. Because I know how long he was working on that book with Jason, so it was really nice to see that go. They were saying while you were out, they were showing some of the swag that people did pick up along the way at I/O. There were some Android statuettes. One over Google Play for Families is the one that Alan was showing, and also there's some water bottles and some other miscellaneous stuff, but stickers, but custom stickers. So that made it awesome.
Don't knock stickers.
Stickers are nice, and when you can customize them, that's cool too.
Sai
But in
says,
general,
Sai says, I think the vast majority of Google is throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. They really rely on people that are able to share the vision, and even more on people who are willing to run with it.
I think that's kind of true. Still, I mean, they're trying to narrow down some of the spaghetti that they throw on the wall, so they're not, throwing every single type of spaghetti they could throw. But yeah, they put some stuff out there and they try and get some feedback.
Well, I like that
from
in a
people.
company that it's they're trying things that aren't necessarily things that might seem like great ideas, that because you did try them, they become great ideas.
Yeah, I sometimes get the worry that Google will lose faith in something that they're trying that I like, and then they'll get rid of it. But
I mean, it takes a lot of nerve to do, some things that Google does, like the Project Loon, and, even self-driving cars. Like, I mean, you have to have a lot of, push behind self-driving cars to even begin to do that, like.
That's a bigger deal than Loon, I think. I mean, but also they have so much money.
Right. Right. So they can try these,
And
crazy
they have to
ideas.
think. They have to think like a startup, because the age of desktop search ad revenue, those days are threatened dramatically, and so they have to constantly be thinking like, "Oh my God, what do we do?" Because just like we talked about Leo, for entirely different circumstances, and me and any business owner, if your business is under threat, that threatens everyone who's part of your team, and so you've got to stay ahead of the curve. And so we've seen, I mean, the graveyards of Wall Street are filled with businesses that are, dying or dead or gone, that didn't adapt. I think Rochester, Anthony, you'd be uniquely qualified to talk about that with Kodak.
Well, I mean, those companies, like you say, with money, those companies that have been doing things a long time ago and failed, like online groceries, and then you fast forward 10 or even 20 years, and Amazon is selling groceries online and delivering them the same day in big markets, and that's because they have money to push at it. And if it doesn't work out in the first X amount of time, they don't have to go, oh, we ran out of money, so we can't continue doing this.
Well,
Whereas
just like, I mean,
that's-
web pages. Now, we started, when I was running an ISP in 90, I guess we started RMA Online in 1995 or 93. And then it grew, and then we became the leading ISP in this county. And I started this thing, and you can actually find it if you go to the Internet Archive and you look up, it was called Valley Life, I think it was valleylife.net. And you'll see there was a little hand-drawn logo we had an artist do. We were selling websites. It was like a directory of businesses, and we were offering websites, and nobody was interested because it was too soon. Now, of course, all those businesses that rejected us because they didn't see a value in it, all have websites, right? They're either on Facebook or they have a website proper, or they have, whatever. They're probably on multiple things. So yeah, things change. I mean, there are many people who tried to sell cell phones and went out of business, and now, of course, everyone has a cell phone. So it's just, you got to strike when the iron's hot, right? The old cliche. And Google's trying to find the next iron.
Yeah, sometimes I think they give up a little bit too soon. I mean, they have the numbers, so maybe they decide based off of those numbers. And, people complain about Google Reader. I was a daily user of Google Reader, and I'm not even that sorry that it went away. But I think sometimes they have ideas that were good, and sometimes they don't hold on to them, like Google Health. Maybe the world wasn't ready right then for a place to store health records. But to me, it seemed like a pretty good idea, and I think that as time went on, that it would have been an idea that people would have warmed to a little bit in the long term. But I think it would have taken a long-term effort in order to have places start to accept that idea. I'm not sure why they killed that one, and I sometimes get concerned about things like that, where there was that idea. It seemed to be executed pretty well, and then it just disappeared. But I guess me saying that about Google, they're not exactly on the hotline. Okay, Kevin's saying that, so let's make sure that we keep this entire service based off of what he's saying. Hey, Anthony, what did you see about Google I/O this year that really interested you?
You know what? I have not had the opportunity to watch a second of even the keynote, much less anything else. It certainly is something that I am going to go back and look at the entire keynote and watch that, but I just have not had the time to yet.
Interesting that you talk about the keynote. Jason was saying that he was really impressed by the presenter for Google Now on Tap, and I kind of felt the opposite way about that presenter. I felt that the information was getting conveyed, but it felt like a flat presentation to me. I was not excited by the presentation itself. I mean, the idea was cool, but I thought that presentation was frankly kind of boring. I don't know what I'm missing that he saw that was so exciting, but to me, it wasn't that interesting. And it kind of bled out into the presentations in general. Even the presentation that Alan liked, where he felt that was the best presentation around Google Photos, I agree. I think that was the best presentation of all the presentations, but I still think it could have been way more effective. There could have been way more of a moment built around that product than what was presented. He was saying that the actual presenter was the best presenter for that idea, but I don't agree. It was polished. Don't get me wrong, and it would have been a nice coda, but I definitely think that having just a regular person and showing them this feature, I think they would have been blown away a lot more by that product, and having that sense of surprise and discovery and recounting of memories of photos and things like that. I think that would connect with people more than even his presentation. It would be nice to see that excitement from someone first, and then pique everyone's interest, and then have him describe his experiences with that as well later. To me, that would have been more effective. And I got that feeling in general about, like I said, again, about all those presentations. There was the idea that got presented. Google Photos will store all your photos. There's Brillo. There's Now on Tap that'll do more interaction with different Google services and present you more contextual information. You know, thing after thing got presented, but I kept seeing missed opportunities for moments. And I think that the reaction that Jason saw with the flat audience reflects my opinion more than anything else. That, you know, there were interesting things, and either there wasn't a moment created around them, or it was just something that was going to come along in the future that they didn't really have a good announcement around. And to me, in general, it was kind of a little bit of a letdown as a presentation in general.
They kind of like the Thriller album was Sergey jumping out of a freaking airplane, and
Right.
how do you top that? I mean, now they're like, yeah, we're gonna update Android a little bit, and we, you know, free
Well,
photo uploading.
The complaint
You know,
that you keep on making, you know, how do you top jumping out of an airplane? Well, honestly, what does that actually give you as a developer? That doesn't, I mean, yeah, it's cool that, you know, someone's jumping out of an airplane and, you know, coming into the building and whatever, but that doesn't actually give you anything, right?
no,
But-
what I'm saying,
and I-
right?
But
'Cause
almost
they took
nothing
away the
presents-
Hangout feature.
But almost none of this helps the developer. It's all for creating excitement to people who are not developers. I mean, that's what the keynote's for a lot of times. I mean, it's not specifically for, I mean, the breakout sessions are going to help the developers, but the keynote,
Right.
that's something that people can tune in. That's supposed to be the one moment that's supposed to be a little bit more accessible for people in general. And
But-
in that sense, go ahead.
Like my sister, I mean, you know, she's certainly not, I mean, she goes to a technical school, you know, Rochester Institute of Technology, but she's not, like, you know, geeky, and she certainly would not watch the, you know, Google I/O keynote. You know, these keynotes, yeah, they are to create excitement, but I feel they're still very much for a geeky mindset. You know, they're for they're for the people that read the, you know, like in Gadgets and The Verge and you know, whatever else of those type of websites. They're not for like the everyday consumer that, yeah, they're like, oh, I love Android, but they don't care, you know, as much as the most that they care about Android is that they get the newest version of Android, and they just want it because it's the newest version of Android. They don't necessarily care, you know, what's in it. They're like, yeah, it's new, so it's going to improve on things, so I want it, but I'm not going to go and watch a keynote about it.
Well, one word answer for that, Apple. Steve Jobs made people care. If he can do it, they can at least do an approximation of the kind of interest that got developed around that. And a lot of the people who paid attention to what Steve Jobs was doing during his presentations, I mean, they didn't sit there and watch the keynote either. Instead of them watching the keynote, there were some moments that would get pulled out, like a sentence or two that would get pulled out, and those would be put along with those news stories later on. And there were a lot of moments that Steve Jobs would make that would get pulled out, and they're not going to show the whole keynote, but they'll show those moments, and he was able to make those moments almost at will.
Right.
And he did a lot of it, but with Google, we're getting none of it. And
Well,
that's really what the problem is.
I know in previous keynotes, whether or not the media decides to, you know, go with those punches. I know in previous Google I/O keynotes that those moments were in there. So do you think that they are not in there in previous years, or do you just not think that they were in this year's one?
They were almost never there. Almost never. The presentation where they were going out of the balloon above them, that to me was the first and last major moment that's ever happened at a Google presentation. All of them have just been good presentations to developers, and they have not created any moments of note other than that moment there. That was an exciting moment. It doesn't need to be as exciting as that. It'd be hard to top that, but they can come somewhere close. But no, I don't think they've had any moments like that other than that, ever. what moments have stuck out to you?
Yeah, I lost you for the next like 20 seconds, but
Oh, I'm sorry. What I was saying was I don't believe they have had any moments other than the jumping out of the balloon. That's the only moment that has truly risen to the Steve Jobs level that we've come to kind of expect as a gold standard. They don't need to hit that gold standard to me, but they need to at least try to make those moments. And to me, they've never even come close except for that one moment, and that's it. And the question I had for you was what moments have stuck out to you out of the previous Google presentations?
well, I mean, they just like when they talk about, oh, we have the most users, Androids installed on this massive percentage of devices, like that's the thing that I take away from it. I mean, certainly Steve Jobs or Tim Cook has never jumped out of an airplane. They've never done anything remotely close to that. Maybe jumping out of an airplane was actually a bad idea because it creates this this glass ceiling that you can't break.
I don't think it's I don't think that they're that imaginative when it comes to presentations. That's really what it is. You don't have to jump out of an airplane every time to catch people's attention, but you should be able to connect with people's emotions. I mean, even that fact of the number that you're talking about, that's just a fact. I mean, anybody can present that well, but create a moment around that fact. That number doesn't tell me why I should care about that number. It's the number in itself may be interesting to me, but if I have to imagine some kind of emotion to feel about that number, then it's not a great presentation. Now, if you said, let's say that video is uploading to YouTube. Let's say 300 hours of video is getting uploaded every minute, which I think is the newest number that's been. If they can present that in some kind of way that people care about, for example, present some family, let's say, that is trying to preserve all the video that they've recorded of someone in their family, like of their grandfather who is a video nut, and he's starting to lose his memory because he has Alzheimer's, and now we can put all the video that's related to that person up onto YouTube, and they've uploaded about 300 hours of video to that system. You connect to that story, and then they can relate the fact that they upload those kinds of memories that person is having that's losing their memory with Alzheimer's. They're uploading that much information every minute. Every minute that moment is getting created in someone's life.
Right. So like I enjoy watching keynotes, but I can only think of two moments in keynotes that I can remember, and I would want to go back and look at on YouTube. And the one moment was not a good moment. Was when Windows 98 crashed for Bill Gates when he was presenting it, and the other moment is when with the plane at Google I/O. So I don't think that these moments that you're talking about are really so memorable as you're trying to make them out to be.
Well, they would be memorable if they were any good at presenting them, which they're not. That's what the problem is.
Well, and
many of them are so bad at presenting those kinds of moments that there's nothing to quote.
Right, and
they're all kind of bad except for Steve Jobs.
I would certainly say that Steve Jobs was an exceptional presenter, but there's nothing that I can remember that makes me want to go back and look at one of his previous keynotes and go, wow, that moment was exciting.
Well,
when Steve Jobs brought a laptop out in a manila envelope, oh my God,
that was a moment. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I mean, that because back then it was like inch and a half. It was a whole deal. The IBM. What was the thing with the pencil eraser? You know what I mean? What was it? The
right.
The ThinkPad, right? And then all of a sudden it comes out with this freaking. I mean, oh my God! Hey, I got to tie this up because I'm gonna die on camera. If I continue, the paper was delayed. one of my sales reps who I adore suffered a fall and was hospitalized, and so the paper was delayed for a day. And it was a really big issue with a special section for a beer festival. And I have my normal 2-day thing is turned into 3 days, and so to avoid becoming deceased during the program, I want
Think
to
of the ratings, man. You got to stay on.
Oh no, I got, yeah. I told the kid, I said, keep a YouTube camera on me if I do start to, convalesce, capture the moment.
You're like, your last 2 words are going to be "keep filming."
Oh yeah, you know it. Yeah, this is the bear, the brown bear, that's chasing me. He's on top of me now. My face is in the bear's mouth. All right, so
Quick, let me take a selfie. Okay, okay.
the bear's not cooperating.
Okay.
Anthony Klauser, how was your Google Plus week, sir?
Like I said, I haven't been around.
How was your week? What's going on in Rochester? How's Wegmans doing? The world's greatest supermarket ever.
We're gonna open a new store in Brooklyn in the coming years. That's interesting.
That's cool.
But there was this festival that I went to today. So that was fun. Just like festival food and music, and just that was fun. Nice to get outside and enjoy the weather.
And you get to know it earlier than most because you're what, like 6'3" or something?
6'2".
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
exaggerate.
like Rochester has basically a festival every week from like May, the beginning of May, until like snow starts flying. So that's pretty cool.
So you had fun. What did you eat something there?
I had fried macaroni and cheese, which was, it was like Kraft macaroni and cheese fried. So that was kind of good and kind of sucky at the same time. I had a fried Oreo cookie. That was real good. And some fresh squeezed lemonade. So that was good too.
Awesome. And is that the stuff that like you eat it and you're disgusted the next day, and then you swear it off forever, and then the next year when the festival comes back, you do it again?
Well, I'll definitely be getting the fried Oreo again, but I think I'll be passing on that fried macaroni and cheese because, like I said, it was just like Kraft macaroni and cheese, and why am I paying $6 for Kraft macaroni and cheese? I don't know.
Exactly. Awesome. So that was Anthony Klauser in Rochester, New York. And going to Georgia, in the Atlanta area, from CNN Center, we have Kevin Bryan. How was your Google Plus week, or your week in general, or whatever you want to say?
My Google Plus week was pretty nice. In general, I got to get a little bit more rest and relaxation this week. I recently just graduated from school, and so the week after or the 2 weeks after or so have been really, really hectic. But this week, I was able to slow down a little bit. I was able to catch a concert. In terms of my Google Plus week, I got to see some exciting stuff happen at Google I/O. The photos, the new Photos app truly did blow me away. I'm super excited to explore what that's going to mean in the days and weeks ahead. I'm also interested in seeing what's available in terms of Google Cardboard and what people start to develop for that. I really do want to go to Sesame Street. I'm hoping Sesame Street will get on that stat so I can go down there. In general, just enjoying the week. It's been pretty nice, pretty relaxing.
Awesome.
That's pretty much it.
Awesome. So tell Anderson Cooper and Anthony Bourdain hello when you have lunch next week. Yeah.
I Bourdain's making me lunch, this weekend, so I'll say hi.
All right. Try to maintain the carbs to a moderate level. But yeah, my week was an absolute nightmare. And because we were doing the paper and stuff, and it was just I'm beyond exhausted, and then I have a full weekend, and then so all that happened. But anyway, thanks for watching so much. We appreciate it. So it looks like either the comments have died, or the the API is not working right. But anyway, thank you for watching. We have 2 programs. One is called Our Android Week. That is every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, where we talk about Android topics. And that's on Google Plus and YouTube Live. Just look me up or Google it. And then also we have this program, which is Google Plus Week, the longest running show on Google Plus and YouTube Live about Google Plus. And it is every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, where we discuss tech news with a Google-centric focus. And like tonight, we're sometimes broadcasting from Google stuff. So thanks for watching. Thanks to the panel so much. Anthony, it was great to have you back. It was great to have Jason Salas back and all the regulars. So this was exciting. So thank you all very much. And until next time, have an epic, awesome, badass Google Plus week.